if this is new to you, go ahead and check out that Why BCard link, where we kind of go through some of the things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, which got us to this statement. Now on the lag metric side, we have 1,472 transaction volume. That's plus 1,290 from last week. And that's mainly 3 users, but we did have 6 weekly transacting users, which is not bad, and 1 new users. And of course, we still have those 10 communities deployed, slowing down a little bit on deploying communities as we're trying to figure out how to make it work for a couple of our communities. But we're filling that funnel as we go, as we'll see as we get a little further down. On the team-wide side, our flow state donations are still up, and they will be for the next couple of months. And it looks like one of our donors upped their donation. So now we're at something like 1.5 ETH a month in matching funds, which is great. So the plans for those funds were to go to people who are currently contributing based on the BCard that they're doing, that they're creating. So the goal with this, and it's only going to be for the next couple of months. It's not a forever source of. Well, hopefully it'll stay at 1.5 ETH, and just get some of our contributors compensated. And the hope is that it will encourage people to contribute. So if you haven't donated yet, please consider. Even a small donation helps quite a bit because it's quadratic funding, which means it takes into account the number of people who have donated in your matching multiplier. So right now we're getting matched like 275 times. But if we had a couple more people, we'd get matched even more. So that would be really great. If you haven't donated, please consider it. And if you're having trouble with it, a couple of people did have trouble, feel free to reach out and I will help. And if you know anyone who might want to donate or think of a way to get additional people to donate, yeah, please let me know and we can try to figure that out, because there's quite a bit of ETH going out of there every month, and even that 1.5 will be a big help, but we could get even more if we get more members. On the side of new members, well, Sean, you're not a new member, but I think it's been a long time since you've been here. So do you want to just unmute, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you here and what you'd like to contribute, if anything?
Sure. I've been building and been an end user in DeFi for about 3 years. I joined Bankless DAO in 2021 when it was still called that. And my last gig with them was writing for Bankless Publishing, where I did a non-tech guide to ZK rollups. So if you haven't checked that out and you're curious, the link is on my X page. And October 2023 was the last time I was involved. So, and BCard, I would like to do more. It's just that because of obligations, work, family, haven't had as much time as I would have liked to contribute. But I am still doing that as an end user and a patron. So, yeah, I love the energy and the values. So keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. We appreciate you. And of course, we always love to have people around. Even if you aren't able to contribute right away, even if you have other things going on, there's always a chance to do it later. And that's the good thing about working in a DAO, is that you can kind of pop in and out as you like, create value as you're able, and slowly move us towards our mission. The goal isn't to be fast. The goal is to be relentless. So appreciate you being here, Sean John. All right, going down into our milestone perspective. And our goal is to create revenue and engagement. And so our goal on the weekly transacting user side, we're trying to get to 10 right now. And what gets us to 10 might not be the same thing that gets us from 10 to 100, but we've got to start somewhere. And so our lifecycle emails, this is going to be pretty much all but finished up today with a production release and an adjustment onto our Mailjet. So we're looking at these lifecycle emails from 2 directions. The onboarding side, so this is kind of like top of funnel, and the retention side, so this is kind of bottom of funnel. So we have 2 things in here. On the top of funnel side, we have new onboarding emails. So our welcome email will now be sent as part of an automation flow. And in the first week, the user will get 4 emails: the welcome email, a 2-day email, a 4-day email, and a 7-day email. And we'll probably also add a 30-day email as well. And so that is, sorry, 1 second. Just had to clear my throat there. Yeah. And so that is what is recommended to us something that we are getting out, and hopefully will reduce the drop off that we're seeing from onboarding to actually getting to the point where users are able to load their card and use their card. So we have about 30% of users who actually pass that point. Imagine if that could be a little bit higher. So that's what we're aiming for. And then on the other side, at the beginning of the month, last month we sent people a monthly statement email, kind of in the middle of the month because we were a little bit later than the end of the month, but we will send it a little bit closer to the beginning of the month this month. And the intent with that is that we would drop another 30% of users when between month to month. And so this actually, first of all, it reminds them that we exist. We reached out to a bunch of users and we asked them, hey, how come you're not using BCard anymore? And they said basically we just forgot while it was happening. We just forgot that we had money with BCard. And many of them had like hundreds of dollars just sitting there on their cards waiting to go. So this monthly statement should help. And that should be that is already something that we're going to be sending on a monthly basis. And users can now access it within the app. So yeah, that's kind of it for the lifecycle emails. And we'll see how it helps our numbers. Now on the in-app voting side, this is our next priority. And this is something that some of our communities are very interested in. We'll talk about community engagement during the discussion, but in general, voting, basically taking what you've earned through your BCard points, through your BCard purchases, and then what do you do with those things? Well, voting is one of the things that it can be very engaging for new users. In fact, it kind of crystallizes the moment when you first contribute in a community, you get your first kind of community points, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, hey, I can vote with these. That is an aha moment for a lot of users. And so the in-app voting will be our next priority. We're going to be doing a few proof of concepts because there are some technical uncertainties, let's say, behind it. There's a lot of new tools for how we can use this, including account abstraction and embedded wallets and that kind of stuff. So we're going to do a couple of proof of concepts and a spec from the user perspective. And we really want to make it very Web 2. So anyone, right now, we have a product where anyone can start accumulating token. Now, if we add in-app voting, it means that anyone can join a Web 2 community. And it also means that those Web 2 communities can have a path to engage their users. So that's why in-app voting is up there. And we have a couple of other things in the pipeline after that. On the user analytics side, I know that there's a bug in the dashboard and I haven't updated it yet. On the user badges side, this is a first cut of something long-term that Tom worked on. So users who have a patron or contributor NFT, they will see on their BCard homepage a BCard badge, which shows a contributor or patron. And the long-term intent with this is to make it something a little bit more gamified. So imagine if you're a community and you want people to, let's say, for instance, for the Black Flag Collective, deposit some ETH into a vault or deposit some money into a vault. And for those people who did, you can send them an NFT. That's the intent behind this, is a little bit of gamification. It's a little bit of status notification. It is a way for us to show people the things that they've done that are good. And so we'll see that. And if you have a contributor or patron NFT, you'll see that right away. But if you don't, that whole thing will be hidden. And the intent behind that will we will do something with that long term. And in the midterm, let's say, we'll want to have users mint an NFT as part of their onboarding experience. But to really figure this out, we're going to have to do our proof of concepts for in-app voting because that's really related to that. Anything else on the 10 weekly transacting user side that you want to call out, Tom?
No, I think that was a good summary of pretty much where we're at with all of the projects that we're working at. Six is pretty good for weekly this week. I like it.
Yeah, it's not bad. We're creeping up there. To answer your question, Sean John, what is the cutoff date for donating? Actually, it is a streaming donation, and so for the next couple of months, it's open. But the earlier you donate, the more matching funding we're getting. Since it's streaming, if you put your funding in sooner, then we will get more funds over the next couple of months. And so since there's a lot of funds up for grabs over the next 3 months, the sooner the better. And if you need help for that, just let me know. In terms of roadmap for BCard Asia launch, not yet. We need to really figure this out. I think like our biggest blocker right now is creating something of value for communities. Right now, if we were to launch in Asia, Canada, any other place where it costs like, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars to launch in a new geography where we'd have to do more compliance and that kind of thing. So we really need to make sure that we have a formula that works. And so we need to get a couple of these US-based communities really engaged and working. If we can get to the point where we even have just like, a couple of 100 people using the app on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, that's basically gonna be a quote unquote solved problem. Then that's gonna give us the kind of juice that we need to be able to launch into new geographies. So I would say that's a blocker there. The intent though is and always has been to be a worldwide product and create ways for users to join these purpose-driven communities. But we have to bite off what we can chew at this moment. And I would say it's a little bit more than we can chew, but nothing too terrible.
Hey, I have a question.
On the next slide, yeah, absolutely.
Wanting to be a worldwide product, this actually popped into my head in the last couple of weeks is, you can only get it issued in the US, but can you use it outside the US?
Yes, you can. There are there's a conversion fee that's done by MasterCard, but yes, you can. I'm using it in Canada,
so they
for
charge
instance.
a foreign transaction fee on it.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Because that could be an interesting use case, right?
Yeah, and some of the things as well that we're doing. So it's issued to anyone in America, but yeah, you have to have an American address. And then we're also thinking about adding some additional features that will just open it up. So right now, the app is really only available to people in the US because it's blocked by the whole kind of card create flow. What we're going to do is change that a little bit in the future, probably not in the short term, but in the midterm. I mean, I would like to do in the short term, but we got to figure out this in-app voting first. But as part of it, what we may do is open up the app so that you don't have to have a card to get into the app, or we may create a new app for that, where basically anyone can kind of use our in-app voting, let's say our in-app voting method, our in-app voting product, and then we could add additional things onto that, the endowment fund we talked about, the merch flow that we talked about. So we do want to open up as much as we can to people who aren't in the US, but the card specifically is only in the US for now. All right. So our next goal is to get to 10 new users a week. And so you saw we're at 1 right now. We had 4 a couple weeks ago, but definitely something that's missing. I actually had an in-depth conversation with an advisor from Octant yesterday. And basically she was saying that, okay, you really need to get organized around this. And this is something we know we need to do. The work that we've done over the past couple of weeks around product positioning and our one-pager, the Why BCard one-pager, she said that's a really good base for us to start. And she's going to help us take that and turn it into like an experimental framework for our channels. And so this is what she's calling our growth dashboard or our growth funnel. And we need to work on this from both a community leader and a community member side of things. So this, I would say, is probably, I mean, in terms of anything, it's one of our bigger gaps. It's in the let's just say for this goal, it's the biggest gap. And then we have other gaps, like the in-app voting for 10 weekly transacting users and other things on high quality communities. But in general, this is probably one of our top 2 things that need to be done. So look for me to be working on that a little bit more often. We also have the social media posting, and over the last couple of weeks, Drost has been working on getting some more content, and Winverse has, of course, very reliably, I should say, been taping and putting our stuff up on YouTube, our weekly meeting up on YouTube, which I post on a weekly basis across our socials. And this gives us a really good base. As long as we keep posting this stuff, as long as we keep putting these onto social, we kind of get a little bit of credibility, a little bit of a boost in the algorithm. It is something that, like, okay, maybe it's not the most shareable stuff yet, but when we get to the point where we're able to make some big impact, all of that kind of history is really going to be relevant and really going to be useful to us. So all of this kind of foundational stuff, first of all, it allows us to kind of continue slowly dripping new followers to our social media. So you'll notice that like basically we were getting 0 followers before, and now because of the efforts of myself, Winverse, and Drost, we're getting a couple of new followers every week, and so that helps. And then on top of that, I think it also allows us to pop up in people's feeds more often. So I've said this before, but for someone to really take a chance on trying a new product, they have to hear about you a couple of times in a row. They have to see, okay, BCard, maybe 3 to 7 times, and then they'll take action. So it doesn't really work if we're just posting garbage, but if we're posting things like what Winverse is producing and what Drost is producing, that's going to give people the kind of signal and credibility that they need to pull the trigger. So I would say like this foundational stuff, I mean, I think it's really interesting and neat, but I would say as well, it's really kind of the building blocks that we need. So I just wanted to really call that out because I think it's great baseline content for our social media platforms. And it works across X, Farcaster, and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is one I think that it should not be under-recognized because for our community leaders, they use LinkedIn, right? Not all of them, but there are definitely some. That kind of crypto-curious crowd lives on LinkedIn. And if we can post some stuff and have that kind of credibility there, that's really going to give us yields in the long term. So yeah. Today I also have a Twitter space with Together Crew right after this, talking about in real life events. I'm going to be positioning it as the Black Flag Collective that I worked on, that kind of like website which allows you to donate into Pool Together and uses the yield to fund in real life events. That is kind of a proof of concept that we're working on, which is kind of like an endowment fund for communities. So that's what I'll be doing today on the Twitter space right after this meeting. And moving on, we have 10 high-quality communities. So C3, we have all the assets. We're waiting for feedback from them. They wanted to get their designer working on it. They said they were really particular on design, and I don't blame them. So, let's let them do, if they want to produce some really good design for the card art, let's let them do that. OMF, they're waiting for in-app voting. Basically, their position is when you finish in-app voting, let us know and we'll test it out. So that's pretty exciting, I think. And on the funnel side, Drost and Reynis are working on filling this. I think Drost and Reynis, well, why don't we go one at a time? Drost, you had some comments on this, I think, that you sent in to that you sent into the. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at the Giving Block and just the way that you search through the organizations that are participating or that can accept crypto payments. It's just it's going to be very tedious to do that. So that's why I was asking for a little bit of direction on what, because I'm going to have to do it manually unless there's some way to scrape it. I think I mentioned to you, they do have 2 API calls to pull the organization names and a different one to pull all the data behind it. But I don't know if they only allow that with partner organizations or however that works. But anyway, I'm not making excuses for not having done anything. It's just, it's going to take some time. And so I just want to be smart about it, given that it's going to take a lot of time. Or if there's an easier way to pull that data, or if there's some priority categories, that kind of thing. I don't know if you've actually looked at the Giving Block, but it's going to be a lot of manual doing that. And it's
okay. I mean, how many communities are we talking about here? Like thousands, hundreds?
Well, yeah, there's like it's one of those lists where you can, it lists like 20 per page, and there's like 35 pages, and then when you click on it, you click through, then it gives you the details about the organization, their website,
I see.
But yeah, so it's I'm just trying to figure out a smart way to do this, so I don't spend the next 3 weeks being a data entry operator.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think what we can do is, I mean, we could get a developer to, like, we could put a bounty up for a developer to write a scraping tool, or maybe I could just write a scraping tool for us. If that API exists, that may be something that we can use too. Ultimately, yeah.
The other thing I can do, and I don't want to interrupt, but just the other easy thing to do is just cherry pick, right? is basically visually go through the list and see organizations that either break them down, because you can search by category, whether it's community or whatever. But like there's some pretty prominent names in there, so I could just build a list of, you know, like 20, 30 prominent names, and then decide which of those you want to get the additional data on, rather than trying to do some coding and stuff. So I just wanted to offer that to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we could definitely do that as well if you want to cherry pick like that list. Yeah, there's a couple of other things like now with AI, you can kind of build an app really quickly. So I haven't tried these yet, Replit and Sourcebook, but this is something I want to try as well. So it's something we could do as well. But yeah, if you just want to cherry pick a few, I think like, you know, we're not going to have time to go through thousands and thousands, right? So if you just like read the list and pick out some that you think might work, I think like the sweet spot for us is going to be organizations that maybe aren't like household names yet. So, you know, so something like UNICEF, it's going to be hard for us to get the time of day, right? But we want to have something like we want to have like a good chunk of people to do like a cold outreach to. So something like, you know, let's say 50 organizations, and then in doing
and
like
in different areas, right? Not all in the same. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So if we do like cold outreach, like a cold email or a cold call to them, right? Like the next step once we get these is what we're going to want is their name, kind of like what they do, and then like contact info, either email or calling. And then either myself, Rainus, you, or Anna Thinker will like come up with the script and then just call them, right? So, so yeah, if we get
that helps. Yeah. That helps narrow down the task.
50 organizations. Start by cherry picking. Okay, and Rainus, did you want to give an update on this?
Yes, I did a little list of 10 potential communities that I found on the internet. I'm still skimming through them to remove the ones that I use the help of AI to do the research, and there are some that like don't belong there. But concerning this, I had a thought like about the giving block. Why are we not considering partnering with the giving block itself and integrating into their systems?
We could. We don't have a lot to offer them right now, though, right? Like it would be much better if we came to them and said, like, hey, you know, we have this very successful case study, which we don't have yet, right? So, like, if we can get one community working, then we can kind of say, like, hey, look what we did for this community. Want to do it for all of your communities?
Yes. Well, yeah, I've done a little research about active members and what the communities do. I've got a list of 9 communities, but I'm skimming through and removing like ones that are either too big or not our current targets.
Nice. Okay, great. Appreciate that update. And then I'm meeting with I Speak Nerd of Tabletop today. You'll remember that I mentioned that we kind of are looking at 2 groups. One, these kind of crypto curious communities, and 2, these kind of smaller communities, like on Farcaster. I Speak Nerd is someone who's from Bankless DAO, and he's been running this tabletop thing for a little while now. And so it's just something that I'm going to explore a little bit more with him and see how we might be able to help him. So I'm going to meet him today, and we shall see. Let's get into our task perspective. I'll try to go through this rather quickly so we have some time for discussion. But I did apply to Alliance. Actually, looking at the questions that they asked us, it doesn't feel like we'll get in, but you know that's no, we're no stranger to that. I also applied to speak at ETH Denver. This is something that came up through the Octant Accelerator program. So that is something that is a potential for us. We'll see. On this side, there's a lot of stuff that needs feedback. The white BCard one pager, all these kinds of communities. We're going to skip over this for now, and I'll try to sort it through later. In-app voting, I will say, is probably our highest priority feature. yeah, do you want to give a little update on this, Tom?
At this point, excuse me. At this point, we've just done some preliminary research in regards to what we're going to sort of need as a general framework for back-end infrastructure and we're right now kind of looking into what we might have to do to convert points to tokens for voting or apply some sort of points weight to voting using existing infrastructure platforms that other partners are keen to integrate with. So looking at ways to make that work.
Nice. And one thing that's on my list that I haven't done yet, make a spec from a user perspective. And so hopefully by this time next week, we'll have that. All right, get people to donate on FlowState. Yeah, so I've done some on this. I haven't done a social media campaign. And so did this, create the instructions, send an email to our patrons, did not send an email to our email list yet, and did not post it on socials, and post on socials. Yeah, so we'll see. I did promote within Bankless DAO. I did write a blog article, and we shall see as we go. And I did promote to our patrons, so this is ongoing. Apply to join the next Octin Epoch. This is something I want to get done before the end of the week. It's only until December 5th, and the sooner you apply, the more time they have to kind of go back and forth with you. And because our product is a little bit borderline, we want to leave some time for them to go back and forth with us. So I guess leave a little bit of time for me to convince them that we actually make sense. So that's what I'm going to be doing on that. And I'll just put the due date in here, December 5th. All right. Lifecycle emails. This will be done. Well, today at 11, Tom and I are going to meet to push it to production. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to update the automation flow to get that going. Update cash flow for October 2024. How's this going, Arkisti?
Sorry, had a problem with the mic there. So my plan is to present the November or October versus November next week. Couple minutes in next week's all hands.
Sweet. So I'll put it in for December 4th. And I'll make this October, November. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Pull together community. Yeah, I'm gonna figure out what to do with this. I haven't really heard much from Coffee Crusher, so I'm not really sure where she's at on the campaigns. But if she's not able to be around for the campaigns, it's really important that we kind of coordinate pretty tightly with our communities on this. So I'll handle that if she's not able to. User interviews. This is pretty much done, but I haven't shared the insights with the team. I'm going to reach out to Zooty Bear about this. User analytics. This is that bug that I just haven't fixed yet. Make a list of targets based on crypto donations. So we talked about this a little bit here, but I'll put it up on here anyways. This update that we already had. Make a list of targets. We already talked about that a little bit too. I'll stick that in here. Complete and ship the NFT display for patrons. Actually, this is pretty close to being done. So I'll put it right beside the lifecycle emails, because we're going to take both of these. I'll stick both of these in the done part because they're ready to ship. And so we will just ship them today. Open Medicine Foundation. So we talked to them. We're kind of like waiting. I'm going to leave these communities here. Actually, like our community flow is a little messed up on Asana right now. I don't think that we have like a tight flow with that, especially since Coffee Crusher hasn't been around lately. So we shall see how we can all work together. So this is something that Hero's working on. He's on vacation this week. Only updates on this. So we'll see if he's able to create that article for us. But he has been sending me some notes in DM. So I do think that he's thinking about it. Contributor rewards and payroll. How's this going, Arkisti?
So I got the information that you sent me in the DM, but I haven't really had time to focus on it but hopefully we can pick up tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. That was our plan last week, and then I had to cancel the meeting. So
Yeah. I had some stuff going on my side too, but yours was probably a little bit more painful.
Well,
person from a personal perspective, but yeah.
cool. So we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Okay.
Great. All right. So these are all the things that are going on. Anything else that we're working on that's not on this list? All right, great. Well, let's get into what we shipped last week. I shipped applications for Alliance and ETH Denver. I added the automated onboarding process to staging, and we'll ship it today. Tom added the monthly statements and badges to our app, and I styled them. Winver shipped the weekly meet, and Dro shipped the audiograms, and I posted them to social media. And I met with Kara for some help on marketing and messaging. Anything else we shipped that's not on this list? All right, great. So let's get into our discussion. So given that we're aiming to help communities, and given that we're a community ourselves, and given that we're all part of multiple communities, I think that we should all know what makes community engaging and what makes it less engaging, or what turns you off from a community. And I think that everyone can contribute to this. It's really just a brainstorm. I did it in a plus or delta way. So if you can think of anything that gets you engaged or anything that makes you apathetic, that's what I would really like to hear. Because ultimately, that engagement, that inspiration, that idea that you can make a change, you can take an action and push a community forward, the fact that you want to act for a community, that's what we want to really nurture. That's what really will make not only us successful, but all the other communities successful. And that is what will create that kind of bottom-up action, that bottom-up initiative that we're seeking to create in the long term. So anyways, let's open it up. Feel free to just kind of say things out loud or in the chat. Anyone have any ideas?
I can get started. So I think something about communities that really engage me are ones that give me actions that I can personally take to engage in myself, small or big, something that helps me feel like I can be a part of it by doing a thing. So it's, the community sort of provides action items that can be sort of undertaken.
For me, on a similar note, is a community that gives me the opportunity to build skills that I want to build, whether or not it be coding or marketing outreach or fundraising, anything like that. Any skills I want to build so I can improve on. A community that lets me do those things is what appeals to me.
I like a community with just positive communication and multiple points of contact. So this is the thing where community begets better community and activities. I think as the first people here, like we're the ones that should sort of going and like kind of use our own platforms as like a important means of communication.
Yeah, I think that idea of activity begets more action is really, really important. In fact, I was writing a blog article related to that this week, that idea of like when you take an action, if it creates more action, that's how we're really using the power of community. If you take an action and it kind of shuts down action, that's when you kind of lose it. And I'll put that in the counterpoint here. What makes me apathetic is when the community takes action to shut down your initiative with no feedback path to continuing. I see it happening in communities all the time where someone will post a proposal and people vote no and they don't leave any feedback and they don't really give any way for that kind of proposal author to move forward, and that's just really disheartening.
I would say like
Thing that I'm not. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
After you, Kusi, please.
Well, I was going to just say like a reasonable and sufficient intersection of shared values with the community. I mean, it doesn't have to be like 100%, but like enough to keep you going in the direction with the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people in a community like receiving something. So even it's like a token of thing of participation, like an NFT token or like a free download, a handbook, something small, I think people feel that they can get something out of it, they're more likely to tell people to join.
Yeah, that's something that Snacks from Pizza DAO really emphasized. He says in that first meeting, when people join Pizza DAO, we immediately give them a nickname, and we immediately give them a way to show their status as part of the DAO. And so for them, it started as an NFT, but yeah, there's other things too. And I think that's something we could certainly do better ourselves.
Could be a bad pun, but a token of appreciation.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also think there's a flip side to this as well, you know, when the gamification of stuff gets too intense. And like I found on some platforms just the gamifying of it all, and then you see someone's feed, it's just stuff that they've shared to get more points to go up the leaderboard. So I think we need to find that balance between like real people participating and people using like burner accounts in order to boost their own points.
Yeah, absolutely. Related to what you just said, like real and like kind of capable and people I like, who are also part of this, right? Like, so if um, if it's if it's a group of people who are who I kind of admire or look up to, then I want to be part of it. And the opposite, if people are involved who I just don't really like as much, I'm less likely to be involved with it. What else? Who haven't we heard from? I think Rainus, have we heard from you? What makes you want to stick around in a community? What made you stick around in Bankless DAO or BCard?
It's a good question. I've been thinking all this time. What made me stick around in Bankless now is, I guess, my ability to provide my skills for the betterment of the community and being rewarded for it. And once that ended, when my skills were not appreciated or rewarded, then my wish to continue participating there stopped. So here at BCard, it's the same thing, and I still feel like that my skills are appreciated and needed here, and so I'm sticking around because I feel needed in this ecosystem, in this community, I guess. Yeah, that would be my answer.
And when did you feel like when you said when your skills were not appreciated or rewarded at Bankless DAO? Can you get into that? When did you feel like that happened?
Well, it's more of it's not anyone in the Bankless DAO community. It was more of a feeling of how Ryan and David just threw everything away, and I was so passionate about it because I started wearing the Bankless flag before the Bankless DAO, and I kind of saw them as my idols, and to see them throw away that project so easily in in a matter of like 1 or 2 months. It kind of broke my belief in that project itself, and and in the community itself. I saw there was like I'm to be honest, I have no clue what's going on right now. I haven't followed along for a long time. I know links here are still active there. I know it's called the Black Flag down now, but for this whole time, there was no sense of a clear leadership, clear goal, a vision, and what I saw was just people trying to. Um, Trying to scramble for solutions without taking responsibility, and like I kind of did not want to participate in that party. But I to full disclosure, I have no clue what's going on right now. That was what I felt, I think, a year ago or something. Like, yeah. The main reason was that I saw Ryan and David just throw it away so easily that I'm like, what I was even spending like 2 or 3 years of my life on supporting, if they just throw it away like that. So
Yeah, I think like related to what you're saying. So I captured here. I think no leadership, no clear goals, scrambling for solutions with no vision. Bank of style feeling when Ryan and David threw everything away. I think like as well like when people in the community don't act with the espoused values, and I think that this happens a lot when like people in this space call it getting captured. Like when a community gets captured, I think that really bugs me, and I think it happened at Bankless Tab too, right? When people they stopped thinking about self sovereignty and they started thinking about how can I extract the maximum amount of value from this organization, and the organization kind of let those people do that. For me, that
oh
was like
yeah.
really disheartening.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. That was like when I'm seeing just because everything is open source, and I'm seeing just massive amounts of funding flooding towards projects where I can check those projects, and obviously nothing is happening, and they're being paid like they're the best in the world. Like nobody in this whole reality was being paid salaries that were being paid out by Bankless DAO members that did not do anything. That was crazy. That was crazy, truly. Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen anything like it. And like when I was trying to say something about it, I was reminded that we are all inclusive, and we are all a part of this, and it's a common struggle, and let's solve this decentralized. And I'm like, why is nobody taking responsibility of spending our own money? And then a year later when she did the fan, then obviously then everybody was like, okay, let's cut this, let's cut that, and I'm like, okay, well, now it's too late anyway. So good
Yeah.
morning, America.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, right? Because especially, I think in a decentralized community, when everyone's in charge, no one's in charge. And I'll put that
Yep.
here. Especially bad in a decentralized community when everyone is in charge, no one is in charge, and that's frustrating. I think that can be really frustrating when essentially you feel Moloch just kind of wrap its hands around your neck.
Hmm.
Drost, I don't think I've heard from you yet.
Yeah, I've just been taking it all in. I do tend to talk a lot. No, I'm really interested in what Rainus has been saying here. I really resonate with a lot of what uh, you've been saying, Rainus. And I think the core of that is feeling like, and this gets back to Bankless, but it speaks to what we're talking about it here. It's about what demotivates you, or what I forget what the phrase was. I don't have my glasses on. Sorry.
What makes you apathetic or demotivates
Apathetic.
is a great word too.
The demotivation, I gotta say, what Ryan and David did a lot of damage. And I'm not just talking about damaging the DAO they created. I'm talking about people's energy, motivation, belief. I just feel like they lost. For me, it was an integrity thing. And it makes me unwilling to put a lot of focused energy into other things like that, where there's no there's a promise of some payoff in the future, but it's all a pipe dream. It's one thing, like in a traditional orgs, it's one thing to have stock options or some kind of a bonus structure, but you still get paid. You still get put food on the table. You still get your rent paid. These other kinds of organizations, and it's a base of sand. You can't. Anyway, the fear of being rugged, I think, is the downside, because it's happened to so many of us in this space, and you just get to the point where you don't want to try new things because, is it going to be another one of these where all I'm doing is losing my ETH into some bullshit project that, you know what I mean? So I think that for me is the most damaging thing, because it makes people unwilling to try new things. And that's the worst thing, because this space is all about trying new things. And if people can't try new things in a safe way, well, then it's destined to fail.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's this kind of like maxim, like, can't be evil is greater than don't be evil, right? Like, if you're trusting someone to not be evil, it's fine. But we've always, like, I feel like probably every single person in this room has at one point trusted someone to not be evil, and had that trust betrayed. And so blockchain technology, especially smart contract technology, it gives us a way to set it up so that people cannot be evil. There is no intermediary. We put it on the blockchain, and this enables us to trust. If you trust in that code, if you trust in that technology, to trust that people cannot rug you, right? And there are lots of different mechanisms and ways that it can still happen, but ultimately, when that trust gets undermined, I think that really can be damaging to a community. And you're right that not only is it damaging in the moment, but it creates this situation where people are trigger shy in the future. And because initiative is so important for a community, because that idea of action towards a purpose, if you are able to take an action that creates a bunch more actions, that's so important. And so that's why this particular thing, this fear of being rugged, is so insidious, because it kind of takes away that it takes away from that ability of individual members to act, and it really takes away from the kind of strength that blockchain has over traditional organizations.
Yeah, and frankly, that's the reason that I wanted to participate when we first launched the podcast Hatchery at Bankless DAO, and Soundman wanted to do Making Bank, which was talking about the people in the organization. And a big part of the reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted to tell the stories of people that are real people that are doing real work and have their heart in it. And it's not the media and the political, back a couple of years ago, I remember Elizabeth Warren talking about shadowy supercoders and stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of scammers and stuff, but they paint the whole industry as being a bunch of grifters and dishonest people. And one of the things I wanted to do was tell a counterbalance or countervailing story, that it's like, look, we're real people here who have other careers or have interests outside of our traditional working world, and we want to try and have an impact in another way. And that's the story I wanted to tell. That's really a countervailing force. Is the story about mendacious fucks, frankly, as Scott Galloway would put it. I don't know what I'm getting at there.
No, this is all good stuff. And I think we have like a lot of things, but feel free, again, this is a brainstorming session. Just feel free to say anything. We'll only have a couple minutes left, but yeah, let's let's get it all out there. Another thing I think that really drew me, especially to Bankless DAO, the idea that I could make a difference. I could build an organization. I could help build an organization that I wanted to be part of. I think that is really powerful. I think that there are lots of these organizations that, I don't know, they just kind of stagnate, but the organization continues to change based upon what members need. That really drew me to it.
Yeah, the other thing we were talking about a few weeks ago was too big to fail. What about too big to care?
Yeah. Too big.
It just seems like we're dealing with the machine with everything.
Dealing with a machine or bureaucracy.
Yeah, with everything. It's just too big to give a damn.
Yeah. I guess like that idea of like the counterpoint of that, I guess, is like feeling like you're valued and welcome as a member, right? Feel valued and welcome as a member. Like your individual strengths, attributes are appreciated, welcome, useful, and you belong here. Like that idea really permeated Bankless DAO in the early days. That like no matter who you are, no matter what you can do, and I think that was one of our powers, was that we were so cross-functional. We had 13 guilds of different groups. That was amazing, right? Like no other DAO had that. Like at the time we had 13 guilds of at least 10 members each, right? Which to me was amazing. We had people who were all different kinds of things, whether they were experts or trying to learn that thing. I thought that was really incredible.
Yeah, we had like a dozen water coolers, basically.
Exactly, and all for different kinds of disciplines or crafts, let's call them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is what was super cool about it. It's like you could walk into it was like a smorgasbord or a cafeteria of everything you could possibly be interested in.
There's always something going on.
Right, and then just jump in there and listen for a while and see if there's something maybe that really turns you on, or somebody that says something that really resonates with you, and then you end up, yeah, I mean, it's just that organic, those creative collisions. I think that was a big part of those early days.
Yeah.
There's an energy and excitement about it. We're building the future. We're kind of a little bit renegade. Not the status quo, right? And that's part of what's going on with political upheaval around the world too. They're around the world, they're voting out whoever's incumbent just because there's this malaise, between the pandemic and variety of things going on, and less economic opportunity, or perceived lack of economic opportunity, harder to get ahead, the idea that maybe the future isn't as bright as the past, and breaking away from that, and being the other thing I thought about BCard was, and I don't know if this brings up other connotations, but like plan B, an alternate solution or something like that.
I want to double click on that actually, Joseph, and I do have a hard stop at 10 because I have to go to this Together Crew Twitter space. But I just want to really double click on that, what you just said, Dros, the idea that people are voting out incumbents because they're not happy with what we have here. That's what brought us together, okay? That's what brought all of us, I think most of us, to this crypto space. The idea that we can make things better. The idea that we have the tools to make things better. I think that's really important. And that's something that you can't just get with any politician, okay? Turns out, no matter who you vote in, most of them are incumbents anyways. Whether you vote out who's in and you add another person, guess what? Usually they're still a politician. Usually they're still going to screw you in some way. What we can do here at BCard is provide a completely different alternative. What can we do to create bottom-up initiative? What can we do to create bottom-up power? And that is the alternate of top-down power, which is what we have now, which is what we have far too much of right now. Big bank, big tech, big government, all of these kinds of things, they just have way too much power. Blockchain gives us the tools to create an alternative from the bottom up. And I think that that's what we're really trying to accomplish here at BCard. That's what we are trying to accomplish at Bankless DAO. That's what people are trying to accomplish across this industry. And as long as we keep our eyes on that fact, as long as we don't get distracted by the fancy different kinds of things that we can do, as long as we stick together and focus on what unites us, we can be successful. So I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for contributing to BCard. I want to thank you all for being in the space, because honestly, without it, I feel like I would have all of this rage and malaise that I wouldn't know what to do with. So I appreciate all of you giving me an outlet for my creativity, giving me an outlet that I feel we can do positive things with the world. And I do have to go now, so I'm a little bit late, but thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all of you.
And thank you, Lynx. You always give good sound bites.
Thanks a lot, Links.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.